Hey, this is Randy, the Swiss frog guy, and if you've been watching some of my other videos, you know I've been raising some dwarf African clawed frogs. Now, they live in here, and this is the terrarium I built for my boa constrictors, but I'm not talking about boa constrictors today, I'm talking all about these dwarf African frogs and how I got them from the eggs all the way to the baby frogs that they are today.
I decided to call when they laid the eggs day 0, so when they hatched, that was day 1. In the morning, I used a pipette to carefully put them into dishes that I floated in the main tank. Usually less than half actually developed. The rest quickly got covered with a white fungus. The eggs developed really quickly, and usually by the next morning, the larvae were already hatching. By the second or third day, most of the larvae had hatched free from the gelatin and were lying motionless on the floor of the dish. They stayed this way for the next couple of days, just absorbing yolk. By the third or fourth day, most of the larvae floated to the surface and gathered together in clumps. They did this upside down, so you could clearly see a black spot, the spiraculum on their underside. By day 4 or 5, the larvae started swimming and feeding. They also seemed to take on more of a classic tadpole shape, kind of a black head with a tail. The first food I gave them was powdered fish fry food. I also offered a little bit of crushed fish food flakes just to give some variation. I found that some of the larvae even started hunting Artemia larvae around day 5, but usually that started around day 6 or 8 or so. This is when the larvae start really hunting aggressively and develop an iridescent copper color. As they start to hunt, they come to the surface and pop tiny air bubbles with their tube-like mouth. They mostly eat Artemia at this stage, so I taper off with the other foods. For the next couple of weeks, it's all about just gaining size and bulking up. The tadpoles spend most of their time cruising on the surface or at the bottom, snapping up any Artemia that get in their way. They continue eating these Artemia almost all the way to metamorphosis, but I found that they start accepting chopped tubifex and white worms at about 2 or 3 weeks. I feed the tadpoles and change the water at least 3 times per day at this point. After about 18 to 20 days, the hind legs start appearing. They're kind of useless and floppy at first, but after some time, they start moving the legs at the joints. By the 21st or the 25th day, they've developed tiny toes and they start kicking with their legs. Unlike the hind legs, which develop exactly at the same time, the front legs appear often one by one. First they start as just bulges on the side, and then they pop out with elbows quickly forming. Changes are happening rapidly at this point. The mouth widens, and the tadpoles start darting around, almost as if they're itchy. They continue to eat chopped worms, but some are even accepting live small tubifex. Somewhere around days 25 to 30, fingers start to form in the hands, claws appear on the hind feet, and the whole body becomes more box-like. Somewhere between 30 and 35 days, the tail shrinks, and the larvae become small froglets. They still maintain a bit of the coloration of the tadpole for the first few days. Within a few more days, the tiny froglets start developing the black and gray coloration of the adults, the arms and legs thicken, and they start looking more and more like adults. At the end of my timeline, at about 40 days, they're now eating tubifex, live worms, and even white midge larvae. Even though there's tons of trial and error, this is what I found worked to feed the tadpoles from the egg all the way to when they turned into little froglets.
This video is just a summary of what happened. If you like frogs and you want to check out more, be sure to check out my 5-part series where I go through every single step from the time that they laid the eggs to the time that they turn into tiny little froglets. Bye!